Good morning, Realtors. Today is Friday, June 29th, and welcome back to GADcast, brought to you by the North Shore-Barrington Association of Realtors. My name is Joe Roth, and I'm your local Government Affairs Director with NSBAR. GADcast is the latest podcast offering from NSBAR that'll keep you updated on what's happening in the world of realtor advocacy. Each episode will feature a special guest where we dive a little deeper into the issues and just how we're fighting for realtors and their clients. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that the Let's Talk Real Estate series is back again. Let's Talk Real Estate at Home will feature our very own, very talented Miss Marilyn Glazer, serving as federal political coordinator to Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky. Their web interview will air live on July 8th at 3:30 p.m. So if you live in the district, make sure to watch your inbox for important registration information from Illinois Realtors. You know, at the very core of what we do as realtor associations is the belief that we can make a meaningful impact on our communities for the betterment of everyone. When you break it down, that's really what realtor advocacy is all about. But so far in this podcast, we've discussed advocacy from a policy perspective. That is the local, state, and federal policies that have an impact on you as a realtor and your clients as property owners. However, I think you can easily see that realtor advocacy consists of more than politics and policy. Through your realtor associations, you have access to resources that make meaningful contributions to your community. To discuss this more today is today's guest, Jim Clayton. Jim serves also as a Government Affairs Director in Central Illinois, but he also holds the unofficial title of Realtor Party Guru. Jim, welcome to GADcast.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you having me on.
So let's start with the top here, Realtor Party. We talk about this a lot and we use this term a lot, but some of our listeners might not be familiar with it. Can you explain this concept a little bit more?
Yeah, the Realtor Party basically is an alliance between our realtor members and realtor associations, whether that's the federal, state, or your local association. It's, in layman's terms, a giant toolkit that our members can use to have resources for community projects, community engagement, or whether there might be some advocacy or surveys you want done or educational opportunities. It's the big Swiss Army knife that our members can use at the National Association of Realtors.
That's a good explanation, Jim. Thanks for that. And, you know, so you're in the state of Illinois. You are the program manager for the Realtor Party. You are a resident expert.
I don't know about that.
We're going to run with it. For today, you're a resident expert. But can you tell us why these programs are available? Like, what's the goal of all this?
Right. Like I said, it's that alliance between the members and the realtor associations. And when you get into the Realtor Party, it really does start to go at a local level. That's where the most impact is done. So these associations are, and through the Realtor Party, there are programs that can enhance or advance public policies or candidates that build strong communities. There's tools to protect private property interests. But most importantly, it's a way to not only be engaged in a community, but to promote a vibrant business environment. And get the message out there that realtors are really leaders in every community.
All right. And so can we talk a little bit more about specific programs that are available for local communities? I know you and I have discussed over the years some of these different grants that are available or other resources that realtors can use that have an impact on their local community.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the community engagement. Really, the programs and grants that are involved for community engagement grants that I would say our members have the most involvement in. Right now, there's about 5 or 6 different programs we'll discuss today. We'll go a little deeper into a couple of them, but the 6 that I want to make everyone aware of, I'm sure some have heard about the placemaking grants, which are some lighter, inexpensive grants to help build things in the community. But the other grant programs are the Housing Opportunity, Smart Growth, Fair Housing, Community Rebuilding Grant, and the Diversity Initiative grants. Those are housed all in that community engagement, and those are about the 5 or 6 grant programs we really focus on. In particular, this year, we're going to be doing to that new community rebuilding grant. Also, we've had a fair number of fair housing grants come out, and also housing opportunity. I think those are the placemaking, housing opportunity, and that a little bit of that community rebuilding grant and fair housing might be what we go into a little bit today.
All right. Well, let's start with the placemaking grants, because I think those are always a really cool tool to use, and I've had a little bit of experience with them so far, and I think it's a really kind of nice thing. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, placemaking is by far our most popular grant, not only on the national level, but on the state level as well. Every association can qualify for level 1 or level 2 placemaking grant. Level 1 is $1,500. Level 2 is up to $5,000. What they are, like I said earlier, the lighter, inexpensive projects that can help just bring a community gathering place together, whether that's a parklet or a community garden or a bench or a covered pavilion, whatever it might be, to partner with the municipality to add a new gathering place, a place where the public can enjoy, that's sponsored by the realtors.
And it's a very nice, very visible way for members to visibly demonstrate to the community, we're here to be a positive impact in this community. Beyond that, let's talk a little bit about this new community rebuilding grant. I think this was a really very recent addition from NAR, and something very timely and appropriate.
Right. The community rebuilding grant came during, unfortunately, but fortunately, the civil unrest right now, and a lot of the demonstrations that protests have been going on throughout our nation. The National Association of Realtors designed this grant to provide funds to either local businesses or municipalities that had damage or graffiti or any vandalism during these demonstrations, that they can recoup. It's up to $3,000. There is a limited pool. The best thing that we have seen, the two best ideas, in my opinion, that we've seen is those local businesses that were already struggling due to restrictions because of COVID, that with the additional damage might not recoup at all. Being able to help them out by, hey, here's some funds or materials to repair that storefront, repair those windows, or to paint over that graffiti, whatever it might be, and help them bounce back a little bit because they were already needing some assistance and bouncing back due to COVID. The other great idea from this community rebuilding grant that we're seeing is a cleanup day where these funds can be used to provide a meal. We get volunteers, not only just realtors, but other volunteers throughout the community to go and clean up and paint over some parts of town or whatever that might be needed. But those funds are used at the end of the day for not only realtor members that volunteered their time, but also people of those communities to come back and enjoy a meal with this money as well. So the collaborative efforts, both from just providing that relief for the materials or the damage done, but also that relief of maybe being able to have a free meal on the realtors as you do some good in the community, I think are probably the two best ideas that have come from this.
Those are great ideas. And again, I think it all goes back to, and something that I've talked a lot about through this podcast, it all comes back to leadership in the community and leadership in, there's lots of different communities we have here, but we have our own realtor community. We have the communities in which you live and work, and showing that, not only that we care, but we're invested and we have a full investment in these communities, which our members do, but this is a demonstration of that. This is a way to put a mark on that. And another couple of big things that are really important to us, one of which is fair housing grants. And I know here at NSBAR, we have a really big emphasis on fair housing, and we like to, we like to demonstrate our beliefs in fair housing. Can you talk a little bit more about those grants and what those are?
Yeah, so the Fair Housing Grant is more educational to not only provide our members with the necessary resources to be advocates for fair housing, the necessary resources to provide fair housing or change policies that might affect fair housing, but it's also kind of just a sub program of the overall housing opportunity grant system and program with the National Association of Realtors. And I'm always going to advise anyone to look into that fair housing, that program. But I think if you can combine both and really dig into the housing opportunity program, you're going to be able to find a little bit more resources. And with that housing opportunity program, these are activities that realtor associations can do to create, improve systems, programs, policies that expand the access to housing that is affordable. So the goal is really to not only position realtors as leaders in improving their communities, but the goal is to actually create more affordable housing opportunities. And having that fair housing education doubled with this housing opportunity grants is just a better way to expand and address not only the fair housing policies that might be in place or you might need to help, but also to actually literally expand housing opportunities. And housing opportunity, I believe, couldn't be more important than right now. And if we were going to dig in a little bit to that program, similar to what I did with placemaking, there's 3 levels to housing opportunity. And housing opportunity can be used, level 1 can be used for educational activities such as a class, forum, to host a speaker, to address affordable housing issues, or to hold a meeting with community stakeholders to develop a coalition efforts to almost the ground up money, if you will, the very beginning funding to address the issue, to look at, okay, what do we need in this area that for our affordable housing issues? And you host that speaker, you plan that activity to address the problem. And as you move along into the different levels of the grant, that's when you start seeing the funding jump up, but you also see the initiatives get a little more thorough. Whereas level 2, now you've had your educational level 1 grant, you've done your speaker, you've done your research, you found your needs. Now level 2 is more of the seed money to get those initiatives that came from that first grant rolling, get the ball rolling a little bit. Most of them are to address a specific housing issue. So you've narrowed down your issue in level 1. Now that specific housing issue, maybe you need a survey, an impact study done. That's where level 2 can come in and say, okay, through these assessments, we have found that our best route moving forward to expand affordable housing is this area. Let's start here, and here's the ideas. And you can do that with those community stakeholders with this seed money, whether it's, like I said, to cover the expenses of a survey or a study or an assessment, whatever it might be. It's up to $5,000 when you get to level 2. Now, level 3 is, once again, just expanding again. It's to support. So you've done your assessment, you've done your impact studies, you've found your affordable housing need. Now you have this project. Now you've came up with the project through all your grants and your research, or there's something already existing that maybe you're just now getting to the table on or allowed to the table on, and you can actually expand a little bit more. And those are up to $10,000, and they support new or enhanced existing activities that have growth potential. That's the key there, that you came up with your study, you found your assessment. Now, okay, this really does have a growth potential. This really has the opportunity to become affordable housing. So that's when you can come in with $10,000 and really boost it along. Provide that support to get that project funded. There are a couple stipulations with level 3 as far as you're going to have to at least partner with one non-realtor primary partner organization, whether that's a housing nonprofit, a government agency, a local employer, or a local municipality, whatever it might be. But they should be comprehensive, but they should have a community broad reach and significant realtor involvement, which is perfect, as we've been talking about how much realtors are leaders in the community. Well, of course, we got to have realtor involvement, but I will say about all these grants, in particular housing opportunity, because our members they live in this world day in and day out. They see these things, they have that day-to-day feel, they have that expertise in the field. So the best ideas, now all these applications have to be submitted by a GAD or an AE, but the best ideas we've had and the best programs we've had have come from realtors. They've come from our members. The best ideas, the best coalitions always start with the member. The GADs can have some ideas, but it takes that member involvement to really push these ideas and these initiatives along. So I think when you talk about housing opportunity, who's going to have a better expertise, who's going to have a better opinion than our members? So
absolutely.
And once again, just not only showing leadership in the community, but showing that these issues, whether it's affordable housing or fair housings, are always on the forefront of our mind. This is something we care passionately about, and if you want to be more involved, if you want to make change in affordable housing or create or improve systems that have to do with fair housing or affordable housing, these are your two grants that you're going to want to look into.
Jim, thank you for that. And this is such a timely issue here, like you said, especially along the North Shore and in the Barringtons. Affordable housing is, and housing opportunity is a big issue that everyone's trying to tackle. And I know I have a lot of conversations about these particular issues. And, you know, while we see that a lot of municipalities have adopted some singular policies to try and solve this, it's really it's a broad issue. And there's a lot that falls under the umbrella of housing opportunity and affordable housing. And one of the things I really like about this is that, you know, you have to define a specific segment, whether it's, you know, adding housing for those with extremely low income or public housing, or if it's if you're focusing on workforce housing for those that just make below average in a community that's expensive to live in. You know, I like that there's a targeted approach to this, and it's very, very relevant for our people. So I think this is something where yeah, it's definitely a great benefit to our NSBAR members.
It's a great benefit for I think our state association as a whole. And I know a great example is here in Springfield, the capital area realtors. We have a subcommittee of our Government Affairs Committee that is the Housing Opportunity Subcommittee, Community Housing Opportunity Subcommittee. And we're going to be putting on a fair in a few months where we'll have credit counselors there, down payment assistance programs. We have targeted that and found our main sector of the community and the area we want to address, and we're working with that alderman, and he and other citizens of that ward have came to us and provided the details of what they see is going on. And then we're going to have an educational fair every spring and every fall to address those things, and then move on to the next step to actually, okay, here's the area that was most commonly mentioned. Here's the options we have in those areas. And then from there, every year, build and build. Hopefully we can keep doing that by ward in Springfield, and create, just like you said, more housing options for low to moderate income families.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing that's really important about this throughout Illinois is that we do have wrong-headed ideas when it comes to affordable housing. And not to say that the efforts aren't genuine, and you know, the desire to solve the problem is totally correct, but the means in which they're trying to solve those just aren't working. You know, one thing I see in the North Shore pretty regularly is an overemphasis on what's called inclusionary zoning, which is mandates upon new development to require so many units be affordable. I think the shortcomings of that are that, again, not one policy provides affordability under the entire canopy of needs.
Right.
But what it ends up doing is driving up pricing on everything else. So all those units that are not affordable, now those have to be luxury units. Mm-hmm. And unless you have a full suite of policies that are fully complementary, you're basically creating a best case scenario where you get a few affordable units and a lot of luxury units. Right. And you eliminate middle income housing. So that's kind of one of the problems we see up here. And of course, statewide,
this grant opportunity, this housing opportunity grant can specifically do, you know, as they're drafting those comprehensive plans that include inclusionary zoning or different policies, like you said, that's when you can have those educational level 1 or even level 2 to provide studies, provide that educational symposium, if you will, or expo with those elected officials who are drafting those comprehensive plans there, so they can take that input and say, okay, this is the better route, or this is a way that's actually going to make an impact. Whereas some ways and some policies, unfortunately, like you said, the intent is there, the goodwill is there, but the right avenue isn't always taken. And I believe that we can be that provider of information at those, not only those levels of government, but throughout the community, to say, here's the correct policies and the best ways to not only promote this, but get this done and make an impact.
That's great. So if you could dive in a little bit, if we have, a member listening to this podcast that has a great idea, whether it's for a park or a revitalization, a cleanup, affordable housing needs, whatever it is, they've got a great idea, which is exactly what we know happens in the world. Our members are intelligent people that live in the community, they work in the community.
Absolutely.
And they're great at coming up with solutions. So if they have these ideas, what should they do?
Well, always, let's start with, let's say, someone that's semi-involved with the local association or possibly not involved with the local association as far as their committees. They can always go to realtorparty.com, look through the programs and contact their local association, which most likely they're going to have to take these initiatives, or a motion has to be made through a committee to request to submit a grant. If they are on a committee, a government affairs committee, or the different committees that are through associations, to just bring it up, talk about it, take it to your GAD, take it to your AE. Like I said earlier, GADs and AEs are the only ones that can submit these grants anyway. So they're going to have to end with a GAD or AE. But I would say almost 100% of the time that a member comes up with an idea and brings it to the GAD, that GAD's going to be excited about it and willing to work on it. And especially when they're community involvement grants and they help establish a relationship with local municipalities, or establish a relationship with the county board or something that might be in that area, that, a lot of what we do as GADs is we have to come in and try to say no a lot. We have to come and be the defender, if you will. These are ways to kind of bridge that gap and show that, hey, yes, we might say no a lot, but we're also trying to better the community as well. And, these are our programs and our resources to do that. And for members, they just need to get in touch with their GADs. They can go to like I said, realtorparty.com, and under programs and grants, scour through all the community involvement ones. I know I speak about it at our events. So just involvement's going to be the first step, because the more you get involved with your local association, the better conduits you have to taking your ideas to the proper channels to get them moving forward. So I would say involvement's the first step, and then some research, or you can go on your own and check the site if you're tired of hearing me speak at our events. So, but keep in mind, there's roughly around 50,000 per local association in the community involvement grants alone a year that associations can tap into. So I know we didn't touch on smart growth and diversity initiative. With the times right now, I believe that fair housing and housing opportunity is the best way. And what a better time than right now with everything that's going on in the housing, to show that, hey, we're here to help, and we're here to be leaders in this community, and we have resources available that can help.
That's great. Jim, you got a lot of great information here. I appreciate that. And really, I think the gist of all this is that, we have these grants, we have these opportunities, but really it all adds up to, this is another opportunity for you to lead. And as a member, it's another chance for you to lead the way in your communities.
Absolutely.
So if you want to know more about participating in your local association in one of these programs, if you just want to participate for a project you have in mind, that's great. Come along, send me an email, or really anyone at NSBAR, if you have any ideas or want to engage in this. Jim, I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. But thanks for taking some time to join us today on GADcast.
I appreciate it, Joe. Thanks for having me. And good luck with all those books. Looks like you have a lot of reading to do.
We got a lot of reading to catch up on. So again, if you have questions or any ideas for the show or anything, please feel free to email me, joe@nasbar.org. Next week, we'll be celebrating Independence Day, so I hope everyone has a happy and healthy holiday. And I hope you join us again on July 10th, when we'll have our next episode of GADcast. Until then, be well, everyone.